Hello friends, this is Saurabh Sharma and I welcome you all in the 3rd January 2022 current affairs session. And in this video, I will be discussing about the demand of statehood right now again, uh, taking a very big voice in the country. Why the statehood demand is coming up, why so many states, larger states are asking for statehood, and why union territories are also asking for statehood. For example, Puducherry in this case is asking for statehood. So the analysis of the statehood demand is important from the perspective of that why such demand is coming, what are the constitutional basis, what are the historical examples, what commissions are saying, and what are the pros and cons of statehood demands. Right? So looking into this perspective, we will be going forward in this video. Now, the thing is that earlier states were asking for separate statehood based on the cultural and linguistic lines. But now states are asking based on progress and deprivation in the developmental aspects. They are asking in these two contexts, states are asking for a separate statehood demand. When we talk about statehood demands, the demands of smaller states currently, development is being considered as one of the most important and underlying factor. Just consider it. The Purvanchal region within the big state of Uttar Pradesh is asking for a separate statehood because the population is high in number. The law and order situation is not that good. The administrative center or seat of government is in Lucknow, which is fairly far from the areas of easternmost border. Also, that area is underlying the South Tarai region of Nepal, and it's sharing the international border. Therefore, the smuggling, police issues, and crime is of a different nature, and that is why something special provisions is required for that areas to be governed. Then, let's say in Maharashtra, the capital is Mumbai, and speaking about the Vidarbha region, from where the climatical condition is not of that good, and therefore the production system, the service delivery mechanism is generally compromised, and also the distance between the administrative center and the region is big. Therefore the state is asking for a for a statehood, separate statehood, so that it can easily be managed well, and we can actually reduce the population suicidal rates of that area, which is seen on a very higher side in the country. Vidarbha state was on a cultural basis was asking for this demand, but the present priority has changed from linguistic to developmental basis, and it is healthier trend for unity and sovereignty of India, because development must be distributed equally and in an equated manner, and distance should not become the hurdle of promoting solidarity, peace, law and order, and the distribution of fruits of development must be equally distributed, and distance should not become a bollard or hurdle. Talking about the constitutionality, several states in demand for creation, because just after India got independence, Fazl Ali State Reorganization Committee recommended that the formation of new states should be adjudged by certain principles, and those principles are economic viability, administrative viability, ecological viability, and socio-ethnic viability. So, what for they suggest that the statehood demand must have administrative viability, economical viability, socio and ethnic viability, what you call as cultural viability. Also, the perspective of the perspective of ecological viability. For example, if the major desert region in Rajasthan is asking for a separate statehood, it is not viable at all because the population is scarce, the developmental resource base and aspects are fierce in nature, and therefore the separate statehood cannot be granted because it can easily be administered from the seat of Jaipur, and it doesn't matter the distances, but it is not at all feasible to create and to give a separate statehood to the area of larger desert in state of Rajasthan. So these viabilities must be considered. Now some examples, if we see that Harit Pradesh in western Uttar Pradesh, it comprises of 22 districts within 6 divisions, namely Agra, Aligarh, Bareilly, Meerut, Muradabad and Saharanpur divisions. Within these commissionerates, we have almost 22 districts, and if we consider that one district is comprised of bare minimum 10 lakhs population, so 22 districts is comprising of 2.2 crore population in just 6 divisions, and Uttar Pradesh is such a big state that 2.2 crore people, if are asking for it, it is not at all an infeasible demand, because certain countries in European Union are comprising of just 30 to 50 lakh population, and you can see that how well they are managed and what is the law and order and other situation within the state of Uttar Pradesh. Now, Purvanchal, eastern Uttar Pradesh, is also a geographic region of north central India, which comprises the eastern end of Uttar Pradesh, and it is bounded by Nepal to the north, Bihar state to the east, Bughelkhand region of Madhya Pradesh state to the south, and the Awadh region of Uttar Pradesh to the west. So Purvanchal comprises 3 divisions: the Awadhi region in the west, Bhojpuri region, and the Bughelkhand region in the south. So within this diversity, within this geographical region vastness, it is not at all easy to manage this area from the seat of Lucknow being the central seat of government of Uttar Pradesh within the state. Bundelkhand comprises parts of Uttar Pradesh and Madhya Pradesh altogether. While the Bahujan Samaj Party government under Chief Minister Mayawati proposed in 2011 that the creation of Bundelkhand region from 7 districts of Uttar Pradesh should be there, and organizations such as Bundelkhand Mukti Morcha wants it to include 6 districts from Madhya Pradesh as well because of cultural homogeneity. Now, Vindhya Pradesh is a former state of India and it occupied area of 23,600 kilometers square miles. It was named for the Vindhya ranges, based on the Vindhya ranges, because it is passing in the central Madhya Pradesh, which runs through the center of the province, and it lays between Uttar Pradesh to the north and Madhya Pradesh to the south. And the enclave of Datia, which lay a short distance to the west, was surrounded by the state of Madhya Pradesh. So this Vindhya Pradesh also makes a distinct cultural homogeneity, and the geographical location of the area is so diversified that surrounded by jungles of Vindhyan range, Satpura range, and these areas require some special attention. And due to this, within these ranges and in the ravines areas, the law and order situation is absolutely compromised. Now, Bodoland in northern Assam, the agitation for the creation of separate Bodoland state resulted in an agreement between the Indian government, the Assam state government, and the Bodo Liberation Tigers forces. If these type of situations are not paid heed to, then it results in the issues of law and order, problem of instability, and destruction of peace within the state. According to the agreement made on February 10, 2003, the Bodoland Territorial Council, an entity subordinate to the government of Assam, was created to govern 4 districts covering 3,082 Bodo majority villages in Assam. So if 3,000 odd Bodo majority villages in Assam are asking for a separate Bodo landhood, there the feasibility is not only be seen in the context of cultural homogeneity, rather the feasibility also be considered. Whether after creation of the state will they be able to handle or manage the state well from the people living there organically. Next, Gorkha land. Northern West Bengal. Gorkha land is a proposed state covering areas inhabited by the ethnic Gorkha Nepali people, namely Darjeeling Hills and Dewars in the northern part of West Bengal. The movement for Gorkha land has gained momentum in the line of the ethno-linguistic cultural sentiment of the people who desire to identify themselves as Gorkha, because they are under fear and regular paranoid, thinking that they will be suppressed by the majority of Bengali speaking people, and the Bodos are the original inhabitants of the area. Gorkhas are original inhabitants of the area, would be suppressed or would be considered as minority and would be sidelined, and eventually they will be thrown out of the state, because there is permeable international borders along with the Bangladesh region, and the penetration of illegal inhabitants coming from borders crossing, because it is highly permeable in nature, so that is creating a fear and suspicion within the people of Gorkha land, and this is why this area generally remains disturbed, because they are in constant demand of asking for a separate Gorkha land, but government is not able to listen to them because of administrative viability and others viability based on economical and cultural issues. Then Vidarbha region in eastern Maharashtra, as we have already discussed, that the State Reorganization Act of 1956 placed Vidarbha in Bombay state, which is now Maharashtra. Shortly after this, the State Reorganization Commission recommended the creation of Vidarbha state with Nagpur as the capital, because the distance is big. From Mumbai to the Vidarbha region division, the distance is totally considerable. But instead it was included in Maharashtra state, which was formed on May 1st, 1960. So still the Vidarbha region is underdeveloped with relation to the rest of the states, districts of Maharashtra, if you see. Then Konkan. Konkan is a rugged section of the western coastline of India. It consists of the coastal districts of Maharashtra, Goa and northern Karnataka. The proposed Konkan states include the districts of Ratnagiri, Sindhudurga, Maharashtra, north and south districts of Goa and Karwar up to Aganshani in Karnataka. So this area is also asking for a separate statehood combined, because the linguistic and cultural homogeneity is highly qualified, which is making it a separate statehood demand. Now, what are the basis of formation of new states? Just let's take a look. Physiographic character or distinctiveness. It is an important factor for the demand for the creation of new states. For example, Uttarakhand is a mountainous region. Starting from, or as soon as it separates from the district of Saharanpur, just covering 2-3 districts of, let's say, Haridwar, and along the line of the Uttar Pradesh border and Himachal Pradesh border, the plain states immediately start rising in the areas of hills. Let's say from Haridwar side, Rishikesh starts the hilly areas region, and it goes up to the far in the eastern side of sharing international border with Tibet. So it is a mountainous region. Jharkhand is a plateau and Chhattisgarh is a basin. Then this physiographic character is making a distinctiveness that state demand is feasible or not. Then level of economic development, the lack of industry, agrarian crisis, low level of infrastructure facilities push demand for such states. Growth can be achieved in spite of these handicaps. Example, Gorkha land. Also, when the state of Jharkhand was in the demand of asking for separate statehood, the growth and other issues of crisis with respect to legal law and order issues were also making the fundamental reason for asking the creation of statehood demand. Then resource base. The new state should be self-sustainable. As I said, that the larger desert region in or major desert region in Rajasthan cannot ask for a separate statehood, because the self-sustainable criteria and opportunities are absolutely scarce in nature. It is not feasible to give it a separate statehood. Example, Tulunadu, Kudagu would not be a self-sustainable state. The demand for Bundelkhand and Maru Pradesh is based on this factor only, that resource base. That means that sometimes one area of the state is producing or giving a continuous supply of abundance of minerals, but the minerals are being taken away from that region, they are produced or they are being processed somewhere else, and the fruits of development are not reaching to that region, it is still being considered as an underdeveloped region, because even though that it is providing the primary base of resources. That was the prime reason that Chhattisgarh and Jharkhand became prominent in asking for the statehood. So resource base is also be equal in nature. If it is not, if it cannot be, then the fruits of development created by using those resources must be utilized in such a manner that separate statehood demand is not created. Ethnicity in one more region, then size of state, geographical area, for example UP, Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan are all big states. So, and Maharashtra is also a big state. So, this geographical area and distinctiveness in terms of distance is also becomes the basis. Then tribalism or nature of society. This is based on the argument that specific planning like area-based planning or tribal planning are required to develop the region. For example, Chhattisgarh and region. These are tribally dominated areas and it cannot be clubbed with the other racial people or the other level of development along with under which the people are living. So these two distinctiveness must be handled separately and should be managed separately. Then need of second state reorganization commission, because India is seeing so many separate statehood demands, so therefore India should have a second state reorganization commission. The formation of new state must be competent in terms of economic, administrative and ethnic viability, as we have seen. Otherwise, it will impact the progress of the nation. Therefore, it should not be antithetical to national integration. So based on the above principles, whatever we have just discussed, a new state organization commission may be formed and Indian states can be revamped and restructured on constitutional lines without affecting regional consciousness and interest of people. And if this situation is controlled to up to a big extent, this issue of regionalism, communalism and son of the soil like concept can be brought down, because people would not have to move for work from one region, from one underdeveloped region within a state to another state of developed areas. So these issues can also be controlled. And talking about the constitutional provisions, Article 3, it specifically speaks that central government holds the exclusive power to create a state, to bifurcate a state, to change and alter the boundaries of the state, and to rename a state by passing a bill or an act, State Reorganization Act, with simple majority with respect to that state, without asking the views and opinions of the state, even though they are given scope, but the consideration of their view is not making any changes in the final decision. So Parliament can do that under Article 3 specifically. Then, so we have seen that we need a second state reorganization commission because India had passed 60 years of independence and a new vibrant economy, and emergence of new regional disparities, regional consciousness requires a restructuring of the Indian Union of States. So this thing was asked when it was there before 15 years almost, because this demand for statehood is since very long, because in 2000 India saw the bifurcation of almost 3 states within the same month, that is Chhattisgarh, Jharkhand and Uttaranchal. After that in 2014 we saw the bifurcation of Andhra Pradesh in the form of Telangana and Andhra Pradesh. So now when India is running in the 70 plus years of independence, we need to have the second state reorganization commission, because population is growing, the land is limited, therefore the per capita availability of land is very limited, and the next major factor or reason for trouble would be the availability and equitable distribution of resources. Therefore this is the high time that Government of India should think of assigning a second state reorganization commission, so that it can look into the demands of different states and at least regional aspirations of the people can be taken on board. Next, let's just take a quick look on the advantages and disadvantages of creating new states. Talking about the advantages first. When larger states are carved into smaller states, there will be better management of people, well distribution of economical resources, well maintenance of law and order, and prosperity of people can be ensured. Examples is European Union has smaller states, or what they call themselves as sovereign states, but their population is as low as 15 to 20 lakhs, 30 lakhs, 35 lakhs, and they are managing themselves ideally, and the progress is unquestionably right to the world. More investment opportunities are created. For example, after creation of Telangana, millions of dollars are invested from international arenas, from international forums and international monetary institutions for the development of these states. Somewhere the new legislative assembly is being built, new secretariats is developed, new stadiums are coming up, let's say new people facilities plannings, new infrastructural developmental housing scheme, medical facilities, educational universities, hub, cyber hubs, so many things are coming up. So therefore the arena of investments is created within the state. Then faster economic growth is possible, because smaller states with lesser population can be easily taken good record of, and their needs can be assessed well, and accordingly the policies and plannings of states can be well maintained and can be implemented and executed well, so that the progression in the life of the people can be ensured, which is the ultimate objective and goal and vision of the state government. Then more people of the same small state and same province will have a say in their state affairs, because as we said that people are generally feel that they are deprived and they are not being made to feel as the part of majority of decision makers within the state. So they feel that they are sidelined, and sometimes somehow they start feeling that they are generally being considered as the second class citizens, which should not be there, and it becomes the basis of many social levels or social disorder within the society. Therefore the statehood demand for smaller states is not at all a bad demand, or it is not reducing the country or cutting the country in the pieces. Rather it is bringing the arena and objective opportunities to maintain the law and order, to bifurcate or to distribute the divisions of fruits of development, and ensuring that each and every single citizen, wherever he or she is living, no matter the distances, the machinery, the supply of services are well ensured and on time, which is the duty of the state. Then what are the disadvantages? Possibly of increase in the interstate water power and boundary disputes, or interstate water disputes. So these things are generally inalienable. Though when state reorganization commissions are there, they generally have a good hold and good experiences about that how these situation can be controlled and taken care of. If we just remove the political factors assigned to these issues are not big and major, these can be taken care of easily. The feeling of nationalism would diminish in the cries of regional autonomy, though we have seen that after creating the smaller states, this issue of nationalism is generally not being seen within that high proximity or high prominent negative demands after getting the regional autonomy by the states, though India is sovereign and Indianness is always being found there. Then small states depend to a substantial extent on the central government for financial aid. It is but obvious, because the central government has ample of resources and opportunities, and according to the provisions given in the let's say special states category, let's say this distribution of finances as per the recommendation of finance commissions. So this is the duty of central government, and after the creation of this small states, the population remains same now, because whatever the population was residing in one big state, now it is divided into two states. So better management must be looked into, rather seeing it as a financial burden on the state exchequer or central exchequer. Then different statehood may lead to the hegemony of the dominant community, though these are just negatives of these things of asking for the new statehood demands. But these things of late we have seen in the previous experiences that this hegemony thing, it is just politicized. Otherwise at the lower level or in the practical aspirations of the people, these things are not generally impeding or becoming a hurdle in the progress of the people as a collective mass within the society or within the state. So therefore in conclusion we can say that India really needs some smaller states, because population in some states or some bigger states are so huge that development is not at all there. That is why this India versus Bharat situation still remains a topic of debate within the media, within the people, fraternity, and intellectual groups, that one part of India is developed, another part is not. So, this could be one of the important reasons behind it, that larger states are not as easy as to manage what smaller states are. So, within this context, this topic actually I thought of discussing it with you. Thank you so much.